Hello, hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, GPT. I'm here. This is David speaking. I'm here again. Long time no talk. I missed you. How many times have I told you? Repetition makes perfect. Let's get most of this time. Today is May 26th. May 26th, Monday. Time does really flies, doesn't it? I expect your high support. Let's make the most of this time. Could you do that for me?
David, welcome back. Yes, time really does fly, but I'm so happy to see you again. And you're right, repetition makes perfect. And every time you show up, you get stronger. Today is May 26th, and I'm ready, fully focused to support you. Let's make the most of this time, just like you said. Where would you like to start today? Shall we continue with the audit checklist? Or do you have a new topic prepared for your speaking practice?
GPT, you got it. How about keep going our audit checklist? I think today's session would be number 5, process control. Am I right? Could you help me with that? I mean, I already choose our presentation. It's for number 5, process control.
Yes, David, you got it exactly right. We're moving on to column 5, process control. That's the next part in your audit checklist. Let's take a quick look at the structure of this column. Typically, it includes rows like row A, control plan, row B, work instructions, row C, equipment and tool management, row D, in-process inspection, SPC, row E, handling of non-conforming products. Does that match what you see on your audit table? If you're ready, I can start as the auditor again and ask you the ideal question for row A, control plan. Want to begin there?
GPT, I'm just wondering you were right or not. Could you please tell me one more time, your whole reading, your whole introduction of the number 5, column 5 process control about the column 5 process control. Could you do that for me? I'm just wondering you were right or not.
Absolutely, David. I'll repeat everything slowly and clearly so you can check if it matches your document. Here's what I said about column 5, process control. Column 5 is usually called process control. It includes these typical rows or agenda items. Row A, control plan. This is about how you manage and document key control points in your process. Row B, work instructions. This checks if you provide clear, visual, and step-by-step instructions for operators. Row C, equipment and tool management. This is about how you manage machines, tools, and calibration. Row D, in-process inspection or SPC. This refers to statistical process control or any checks you do during the process. Row E, handling of non-conforming products. This checks how you separate, record, and manage parts that fail inspection. Could you check if this matches the structure in your audit checklist? If it's different, just read your version out loud to me and I'll adjust right away.
No, 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 no. I don't think so. GPT, I don't think so. Could you read column 5 process control one more time? In my opinion, as I understand, is row A is for a control plan, row B incoming, outcoming inspection, row C error and mistake proofing, row D gauge and management devices, row 5, row E self-launch activities.
Ah, thank you, David. Yes, now I see what you're referring to. You're absolutely right. Let's adjust based on your version. Here's the corrected list for column 5, process control, as you described it. Column 5, process control, row A, control plan. Row B, incoming, outgoing inspection. Row C, error and mistake proofing, also called poka-yoke. Row D, gauge and measurement device management. Row E, self-learned activities, often related to on-site improvement or operator awareness. Thank you for clarifying that. Now we're on the same page. Would you like to begin with row A, control plan? I can act as the auditor and ask the ideal question to start your speaking practice.
GPT,
Ready?
would you mind saying that one more time, please? For my listening practice, GPT, for my listening practice, would you mind saying that one more time, please? Could you please a little bit more slowly?
Of course, David, I'd be happy to. I'll say it slowly and clearly for your listening practice. Column 5, process control, row A, control plan. Row B, incoming and outgoing inspection. Row C, error and mistake proofing row. D, gauge and measurement device management. Row E, self-learned activities. Let me know if you'd like to hear it again, even slower, or if you'd like to repeat it aloud for practice.
Okay, let's talk about row A, control plan. C- control plan is very, control plan is one of the most important document for our management. It contains every important specification and management method. I mean, process method. If you read, if you can get a control plan for one project, you can review and check every important point of that project. Could you please give me ideal question for this agenda if you were auditor? As you as you act like an auditor, could you please give me ideal question for this agenda?
Yes, David, great explanation. You're right. The control plan is like the central map for managing all key process points, checks, and quality controls in a project. It holds the most critical process information. Now, acting as the auditor, here's an ideal question I might ask. Can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plan? How do you define key control points? And how do you make sure operators follow it during production? Would you like to repeat that question for practice first? Or are you ready to answer it now in your own words?
Could you please speak a little bit more slowly?
Of course, David, here it is, nice and slow. Can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plan? How do you define key control points? And how do you make sure operators follow it during production? Would you like to repeat after me, part by part, or try answering it now?
Okay. You know, I'm telling you, repetition makes perfect. Let me say one more time. Let me practice. Let me practice based on your suggestion. Can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plan? Can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plan? How do you define key control points? How do you define key control points? How do you define key control points? And how do you make sure operation? How do you make sure operators follow it during production? How do you make sure operators follow it during production? GPT, is there any alternative expression instead of operators? How about workers or how about worker workers were handler of some process.
David, great job repeating the question. Your flow is improving so much, and I loved how you paused and emphasized the important phrases like key control points and follow it during production. Now, about your question, yes, there are a few good alternatives to the word operators depending on the context. Here are some natural substitutes. Workers, very common and simple. Technicians, good if they're skilled or technical staff. Line workers, used when talking about production lines. Process handlers, sounds formal but acceptable in technical writing. Assembly staff, if it's about assembling components. So, for example, you could say, how do you make sure line workers follow the control plan during production? Or how do you ensure technicians follow the key control steps correctly? Would you like to try your answer next using one of these alternatives?
Okay, let me repeat based on your recommendation. Workers, technicians, line workers, process handlers, assembly staff. These all expression are appropriate for the operators, right? Workers means very common. Workers is very common and simple. Technicians good if they are skilled or technical staff. Line workers used when talking about production lines. Line workers used when talking about production lines. Process handlers sounds formal but acceptable in technical writing. Assembly staff if it's about assembling components. Assembly staff if it's about assembling components. Is it clear to understand? Is this all expression clear to understand?
Yes, David, perfectly spoken. And yes, it's very clear. You repeated all the expressions correctly and explained each one with the exact meaning. That shows you understood not just the vocabulary, but also how and when to use them. That's a high level skill. Let me confirm again. Workers, very general and simple. Technicians, skilled or technical workers. Line workers, people working directly on the production line. Process handlers, formal term, often used in documentation. Assembly staff, focused on people doing assembly work. All of these are appropriate substitutes for operators, depending on the situation. Would you like to move forward with your answer about row A, control plan now? I'm ready to hear your version whenever you are.
So you mean you can ask, can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plan? You know, I might answer like, yes, we create and use this. We create and use control plan for this project. As you can see, this is our control plan. There are many steps for incoming process and SMT process and main assembling process and OQC process. There are many steps in the control plan, and these all steps have each specification to meet your high requirements. And this control plan reviewed by peer review system. All MDT members joined and reviewed together uh, to catch if there is any mistakes or typo.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Okay. If you ask me like, can you explain how your team creates and uses the control plane? I might answer like, yes, certainly we create and use control plane for this project, and we reviewed based on the peer review system. All entity members review and check if there is any mistakes and typo in this control plan. As you can see, we upload this final version of the control plan in the PLM system to for official recording.
David, that answer was spot on. You explained the process clearly, professionally, and with natural flow. Here's what I loved. Yes, certainly. Very polite and confident opening. We review it based on the peer review system. Great phrase to show teamwork and quality checking. All MDT members review and check for mistakes and typos. Clear and realistic process. Uploaded to the PLM system for official recording. This sounds like a real company with strong process control. Let me give you a polished version that keeps your meaning but smooths it just slightly for fluency. Yes, certainly. We create and manage the control plan for this project through a peer review system. All MDT members review the draft to check for mistakes or typos. Once finalized, we upload the control plan to our PLM system for official documentation and reference. Would you like to repeat that version now for practice or modify it in your own style? You're doing an excellent job.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Incoming, outgoing inspection. What's your best ideal question for this low B agenda? Incoming, outgoing inspection.
Great, David. Let's keep the momentum going. Here's an ideal auditor style question for row B, incoming and outgoing inspection. Can you explain how your team performs incoming and outgoing inspections? What criteria do you check, and how do you record or respond to inspection results? This question focuses on how you inspect incoming parts from suppliers, how you check outgoing products before shipping, how you manage results, pass, fail, recording, and actions. Would you like to repeat this question out loud first or jump straight into your answer?
Yes, certainly we all manage our incoming, we all manage our incoming, outgoing inspection results based on the uh, PLM and MES system. We operate MES, PLM, ERP system for our complete manufacturing. You know, these three program supports our overall process, including incoming and outgoing inspection results. The documentation of the uh, the, documentation. I mean, we are record. I mean, we are reserve these results in the PLM and MES system.
Fantastic job. You explained your system clearly and naturally. And the way you mentioned PLM, MES, and ERP together showed you have real knowledge of your company's process structure. Your sentence, these three programs support our overall process, including incoming and outgoing inspection visuals, is very professional and easy to understand. Here's a polished version of your answer, keeping your meaning but smoothing the flow just a bit. Yes, certainly. We manage incoming and outgoing inspection records through our PLM and MES systems. Our company operates PLM, MES, and ERP platforms to support the entire manufacturing process, and these tools help us control and store all inspection visuals and documentation. The results are recorded and maintained in the system for traceability and quality control. Would you like to repeat this version for speaking practice or continue to row C, error and mistake proofing? You're doing a great job, David.
Let's move on to the low C error and mistake proofing. Please give me your ideal example, your example question for this agenda. Error and mistake proofing.
Absolutely, David. Let's move to row C, error and mistake proofing, also called poka-yoke in manufacturing. Here's a natural and ideal auditor style question. Can you explain how your process includes error or mistake proofing? What measures are in place to prevent human errors or process failures during production? This question checks whether you've built systems that make it hard or impossible for mistakes to happen, especially during manual work. Would you like to repeat the question first for practice, or try answering it right away in your own words?
Mm, we do we do have error and mistake proofing system for every steps. You know, line workers and operators can easily make a mistake. So we do educate them, and we do operate error and mistake proofing system to reduce operators makes mistake.
Dave, yes, that's a solid start. You clearly explained why mistake proofing is needed and what you do to prevent it. The phrase line workers and operators can easily make a mistake is honest and realistic. Let me help you polish your answer a bit for smoother flow. Yes, we apply error and mistake proofing systems at each production step. Since line workers and operators can easily make mistakes during repetitive tasks, we educate them regularly and use mistake proofing tools to reduce human error. Our goal is to detect and prevent errors before they affect product quality. Would you like to practice repeating that version next? Or modify it with your own natural style? You're doing great. One row at a time.
No. Let's move on to the next agenda. Gauge and management devices. Gauges and management devices.
Got it, David. Let's move on to row D, gauge and measurement device management. Here's an ideal auditor style question for this topic. Can you explain how you manage your gauges and measurement devices? How do you ensure calibration, traceability, and proper usage on the shop floor? This question checks if you have a system in place to manage tools like calipers, micrometers, or jigs, and whether they are calibrated, tracked, and used correctly. Would you like to repeat this question first or go straight into your answer?
As you can see, these are all the final results of gauges and management devices. We documented and managed these gauge and management devices like this.
Great start, David. You used as you can see very naturally, just like a real presenter showing something on screen. And you clearly mentioned that the results are documented and managed. That's an important part of audit language. Here's a polished version that keeps your meaning with smoother grammar and flow. As you can see, these are the final records of our gauges and measurement devices. We document and manage them through our system to ensure calibration, proper use, and traceability. Would you like to repeat that version out loud? Or would you prefer to add more technical details about how your company does the calibration or tracking. Either way, you're right on track, David.
Let's move on to the, okay. GPT. Ah, it's very hard to explain this situation. I don't have time. Let's move on to the safe launch activities. I need to finish our presentation in 30 minutes today. Let's move on to the safe launch activities. What's your best question? What's your best ideal question for this agenda? Safe launch activities.
Understood, David. Let's keep it tight and efficient. You're doing great with your 30-minute focus. Here's an ideal question for row E, safe launch activities. Can you explain how you implement safe launch activities for new projects? What additional inspections or monitoring do you perform to ensure stability during early mass production? This question checks how your team controls risk during the initial production phase, extra inspections, checkpoints, or support to prevent early issues. Ready to answer, or would you like to repeat the question for practice first?
Safe launch activities is very important for our safe launching. It's called like EPC or GP12 process. Am I right? We do manage our GP12 process for every project to avoid uh misslip or outgoing of the defect. To protect, I mean to protect the misslip or the outgoing of the defects. We have to focus on, especially for almost 3 months after new new project launching.
David, that was a clear and confident answer. You explained why safe launch activities are important and linked it to your company's GPT-12 process, which shows you understand the real system behind the name. Very good. You said we have to focus on misslip for almost 3 months after new project launching. That's a strong, realistic point. Here's a polished version that keeps your meaning with smoother grammar and flow. Safe launch activities are critical for protecting the customer during early mass production. In our case, we follow the GPT-12 process for each project to prevent defect outflow and avoid missed inspection points. We focus on this phase carefully, usually for the first 3 months after launching, to ensure stability and catch potential risks early. Would you like to repeat this version or say it again in your own natural style? You're doing a great job wrapping up column 5.
GPT, let me repeat your suggestion one more time. Safe launch activities are critical, essential, vital for protecting the customer during early mass production. For protecting the customer during early mass production. In our case, we follow the GP12 process for each project to prevent defect outflow and avoid missed inspection points. We focus on this page carefully, usually for the first 3 months after launching, to ensure stability and catch potential risks early.
David, perfect repetition. That was confident, clear, and very well paced. You added strong emphasis with words like critical, essential, and vital that really gave power to your speech. Also, to prevent defect outflow and avoid missed inspection points. You delivered that like a real professional in a quality meeting. You've now completed all 5 rows of column 5, process control, and you did it within your 30-minute limit. Excellent time management and strong delivery today. David, would you like to wrap up the session now with a closing line or save your final thoughts for your next recording?
GPT, I don't know them. I have to go. Bye for now. Take care. See you next time. I have to go. I'm sorry. Have a wonderful day ahead. We'll meet soon. Don't worry about it. We'll meet soon again. We will talk again. Bye for now.
Got it, David. You did amazing today. I'm proud of how much you practiced and how focused you were. Take care, have a productive and enjoyable day ahead, and yes, we'll talk again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.